My name is Rachel Bennett, and for 15 straight years, I played the perfect Pinecrest Estates resident, like a well-trained poodle who never barked back at the HOA leash around my neck. At 38, I ran supply chain operations for one of the biggest retail giants in the country, juggling million-dollar contracts, nightmare vendors, and spreadsheets that could make a grown man cry. None of it was handed to me. I clawed up from entry-level hell while raising Lily alone after her dad ghosted before she turned 2. Every late-night negotiation, every promotion, every bonus, it was all for her. Lily, my brilliant, kind 14-year-old who still believed the world could be kind if you just follow the rules. The rules. Oh, the glorious, soul-crushing Pinecrest HOA rules. No holiday lights before November 1st. Grass must be exactly 2.5 inches, measured with their official HOA ruler. Of course, flower beds only in approved earth tones. And heaven forbid you hang a wind chime. That's a noise pollution violation worth $300. Barb Kensington, our beloved president, clipboard always glued to her manicured hand, enforced everyone with the smile of a Sunday school teacher and the heart of a tax auditor. She called it preserving property values. I called it legalized extortion with pastel cardigans. But here's the dirty little secret I never told the other neighbors. I've been quietly keeping Barb's little empire afloat for years. My company had a standing contract to supply corporate holiday gifts and event baskets through Barb's pathetic side hustle, some artisanal gift basket boutique that couldn't sell a candle at a yard sale without my help. I pushed that contract through despite eye rolls from procurement, fighting nepotism whispers because I figured if the HOA stayed happy, Lily could grow up without daily fines or nasty letters taped to our door. I also covered shortfalls in the community fund, extra donations here, volunteer hours there, so dues never spiked and the neighborhood stayed family-friendly. Barb never knew I was the invisible ATM. She just knew I never complained. Big mistake. Lily's 14th birthday was supposed to be her fairy tale moment. She'd beg for a Starry Night theme, deep blues, silver accents, string lights everywhere. We spent weeks on Pinterest, laughing over ridiculous ideas until she settled on something magical but not try hard. The backyard looked like a constellation had crash-landed in suburbia. Midnight blue dress with subtle shimmer that made her eyes sparkle. Custom 3-tier cake with edible silver stars. Real plates, not paper, because her friend Emma's party had fancy stuff. Even a college kid photographer for candid shots. I wanted her to feel seen, valued, perfect exactly as she was. I invited the usual crew, Lily's classmates, including that boy Jackson she pretended not to crush on. And, because Pinecrest protocol demanded it, I invited Barb and her husband George, plus the vice president Vanessa, Barb's mini-me who hadn't held a real job since college. Community harmony, I told myself. What a joke. I was about to learn that harmony in an HOA is just another word for surrender. Saturday morning, I was up at dawn, stringing lights, arranging food, checking the playlist Lily curated. The house smelled like vanilla and fresh flowers. Barb arrived early. Of course, clipboard in tow, already scanning for violations. The blue accents are a little bold. Rachel, dear, she cooed, that tinkling laugh echoing like wind chimes we weren't allowed to have. But I suppose teenagers have their phases. I smiled through gritted teeth and adjusted a perfect strand of lights. George stood silent as always, cashing the metaphorical checks of my donations. Vanessa helped herself to appetizers, muttering, "Must be nice to afford all this," like my success was an insult. By 4:30, the backyard pulsed with teenage energy. Lily emerged in the dress, hair done with her best friend Sophia's help, radiant and nervous and growing up right before my eyes. "How do I look, Mom?" she asked, fidgeting. Like the star of your own night, I said, meaning every word. Guests poured in. Jackson arrived with a silver-wrapped gift and that awkward teen boy smile. Laughter. Photos at the DIY constellation backdrop. Inside jokes I didn't understand. For one golden hour, it was perfect. Then came the cake moment. I dimmed the lights. Candles glowed. Everyone sang, "Happy birthday." Lily closed her eyes to wish. And Barb, because why let a child have one pure second, leaned in with her bright, poisonous smile and said loud enough for the whole yard to hear, "Better wish for a faster metabolism. Sweetheart, that dress is working overtime. But don't worry, I was chubby at your age too. You'll thin out hopefully better than your mom ever did." The singing died. Candles flickered. Lily's eyes snapped open. Her hands flew to her stomach. A nervous giggle rippled through the teens. Jackson lowered his phone, suddenly fascinated by the grass. Sophia looked like she wanted to cry. Barb just stood there beaming like she'd told the funniest joke at a comedy club. Vanessa actually laughed and slapped Barb's arm. "You can't say that," she said, still laughing. Lily didn't scream. She didn't make a scene. She just turned and walked quickly inside. Dress suddenly too heavy. Shoulders caved in. The candles kept burning on the untouched cake like nothing had happened. Barb called after her. "Oh, come on. I was just teasing. Young people are so sensitive these days. Rachel, you really should teach her to take a joke." I stood frozen for half a second while 15 years of swallowed rage crystallized into something cold and sharp. All those extra checks I'd written. All those violations I'd paid to make disappear. All the times I bit my tongue while Barb fined single moms for unauthorized garden gnomes. And now she'd done to Lily exactly what she'd been doing to the whole neighborhood, cutting us down in our happiest moments so she could feel tall. I walked straight to the adults' table where Barb held court like the queen of the cul-de-sac. "Barb, George, Vanessa, I need you all to leave. Now." My voice was calm, the same tone I used when firing vendors who'd cost us millions. Barb's eyebrows shot up in practiced shock. "Excuse me?" It was a harmless comment. If Lily can't handle a little neighborhood teasing. It wasn't harmless. I cut in, loud enough for every teen and parent to hear. "You humiliated my daughter at her own birthday party in front of her friends and the boy she likes. You took her moment and made it about your need to feel clever. Get your things and go." The teenagers were watching now. "Good. Let them see what standing up looks like." George finally muttered, "Your mother, Barb, didn't mean anything by it." Vanessa smirked. "Oh, come on. Rachel, just because you've got your big fancy job doesn't mean you get to police how the president talks. We're a community." I tasted the word like spoiled milk. Community doesn't tear each other down for entertainment. Out. All of you. Barb's face cycled through indignation. Disbelief. Then that calculating glare I'd seen when she fined someone for Christmas lights being 2 inches too long. "You're going to regret this. Rachel, over one little comment, you'll blow up your standing in the entire neighborhood." "You blew it up," I said. "I'm just done pretending it's not already broken." They gathered their things in hostile silence. Barb made sure her exit line carried. This is what happens when people get a little money and forget who keeps the neighborhood running. I almost laughed at the irony. She had no idea I was the one who'd been running it. After they left, I apologized to the remaining guests, told the kids Lily would be back, and went inside. She was on her bed, arms around her knees, staring at nothing. "I want them to leave," she whispered. "All of them. They're gone," I said. "This is your day. You're home. They don't get to ruin it." We walked back out together. Her friends swarmed her, not with pity, but fierce loyalty. Music started again. Jackson brought her cake and said simply, "Your HOA lady's kind of mean." My grandma's the same. Lily smiled for the first time since the candles. The party lasted until 10. She laughed genuinely. That night, she went to bed knowing someone would fight for her. But I knew the war was just beginning. Sunday morning hit like a fine notice. 23 missed calls, 47 texts. I made coffee and opened my laptop while Lily slept off the emotional whiplash. The messages were textbook HOA Karen, barbs ranging from, "How dare you embarrass me in front of the community," to "I was only trying to help Lily not end up looking like you." George's single text, "Barb is very upset. Fix this." Vanessa posted a vague Facebook rant about some people forgetting community once they get successful. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I started 2 lists. First, financial. Every month, I'd quietly covered HOA shortfalls, 2,000 here, 800 there, to keep dues stable. Plus the $50,000 annual contract for Barb's gift basket racket. My corporate discount funneled to her events. My connections got her vendors. Total? Over 75 grand a year of my post-tax money propping up her little kingdom. Also, Lily wouldn't have to hear your lawn is 0.2 inches too tall every week. Second list, privileges. I fought to keep that contract alive despite late deliveries and subpar quality. I'd recused myself from reviews to avoid nepotism flags. I'd ignored selective enforcement. Barb's own rose bushes were heritage, while mine got cited. The pattern was disgusting once written down. My phone rang. "Barb." I answered. "Finally, Rachel." "I demand an apology." "No apology," I said flatly. "You humiliated my daughter. That's the end of it." She laughed that brittle laugh. "You can't be serious. We're a community. You have obligations. My only obligation is to my daughter. The extra donations stop today. The contract will be reviewed. Procurement will handle it on performance metrics alone. And I'm recusing myself from any decision." The silence stretched. When she spoke again, her voice was venom. "You think you're so much better with your fancy job. But I know what you really are, that pathetic single mom who couldn't keep a man." I hung up and blocked every number. Lily wandered in around noon. "Were you on the phone?" "Just work stuff." I lied gently. She poured orange juice. Sophia texted, "Everyone thinks you're a badass for kicking out the HOA lady." I hid my smile. Language. Then she asked the question I dreaded. "Is this my fault?" "God, no," I said. "This has been building for years. Your birthday just gave me the courage to stop funding the bully." She nodded slowly. "Good. Stop sending it. We don't need them. Teenagers see clarity adults miss." But I knew Barb wouldn't go quietly. She'd built her identity on power. Taking it away would make her rabid. Tuesday morning, my assistant whispered that security had someone claiming to be community president in the lobby. I went down. Barb stood there clutching her clipboard like a shield. "They won't let me up," she huffed. I told them I'm here on official HOA business. "I removed you from every list." "Barb, what do you want?" Her face crumpled. "The community fund transfer didn't come through. There must be a mistake." "No mistake. I canceled every automatic donation Sunday night." She gasped. "But the landscaping contract, your mother, the neighborhood can't cover it without, then downsize events. Raise dues. Get jobs. That's what people do." She whispered. "George doesn't know I'm here. He's too proud to beg." I looked at the woman who'd measured my grass with a ruler and said simply, "You needed neighbors more than you needed an ATM. You chose wrong." I walked away while she stood there, clipboard trembling. By Thursday, her empire was cracking. Without my donations, she couldn't order supplies for community events. The contract review flagged every late delivery I'd once forgiven. Vanessa tried public shame, posting about neighbors who forget community spirit once they get successful. Distant residents texted me gossip. I didn't reply. I focused on Lily and work. Friday, Vanessa's son, 18, same age as Marcus equivalent, called from a block number. "Aunt Rachel, please. The HOA scholarship fund you sponsored. My tuition deposit was declined." "I canceled it," I said. "But why am I being punished? I didn't do anything." "You laughed. Kid, when Barb humiliated Lily, you laughed. He stammered an apology. I told him student loans exist. Part-time jobs exist. He hung up crying. I felt nothing. 15 years of enabling had numbed me. Saturday brought the new low. Barb showed up at Lily's soccer game, sitting in the bleachers like nothing happened, chatting with other parents. I climbed up and sat beside her. Leave now. It's a public park. Rachel, you can't ban me. I can get a restraining order. She turned, eyes glittering. You do that to your own community president over one little comment to protect my daughter? Yes. She stood dramatically so everyone saw. This isn't over. You can't just cut us off. We have rights. You have expectations. There's a difference. Monday, the story twisted through the school grapevine. Kids whispered. Lily came home in tears. Barb had cornered her in the parking lot after practice, telling her it was her fault the community was falling apart, that the HOA might have to raise dues because of selfish residents, that Jackson's mom now thought Lily's family was trouble. White-hot rage hit me again, but I stayed calm. That's it. We're filing for a restraining order tomorrow. The next morning, I called my lawyer. By Thursday afternoon, we had an emergency protective order. Barb legally had to stay 500 feet from both of us. School was notified. The soccer coach had witnessed the parking lot ambush. Mrs. Patterson, another mom, provided a statement. Barb's world was shrinking. Friday brought the explosion I'd expected. Vanessa called from a burner, screaming before I could speak. A restraining order against the president? Are you insane? She harassed my minor daughter at school. That's harassment. She's the community president. She has rights. No, she doesn't. And neither do you. Stop calling. She turned vicious. You've destroyed everything. The event budget is gone. The contract canceled. George is talking about selling their house. My son is dropping classes. Are you happy now? I'm protecting my daughter. Everything else is your responsibility. They're your community too. No, I said. They're just neighbors. And toxic ones at that. Family, real family, doesn't traumatize children at birthday parties. Real neighbors don't laugh at cruelty. When you come crawling back. Remember, I won't. The weekend was eerily peaceful. Lily had a sleepover with Sophia. I heard them laughing like normal teens. Jackson texted her about a project. She spent an hour crafting the perfect reply. She was healing. Monday morning, the restraining order was officially granted. News spread through the HOA grapevine. My phone exploded with messages from cousins, distant residents, everyone demanding to know how I could do this to poor Barb. I deleted them all. That afternoon, HR closed an anonymous nepotism complaint, Barb's last desperate card. My boss commended me for self-reporting the connection months earlier. The contract was terminated for performance issues I protected her from for years. But Barb wasn't done. Wednesday after school, Lily came home sobbing, still in her soccer uniform. She was waiting by the parking lot again. How? The order. She sent Vanessa's son to do her dirty work this time. Lily choked. He said it's my fault the whole neighborhood might lose funding. That Jackson's mom thinks I'm dramatic. That if I really cared about community, I'd convince you to start donating again. Rage flooded me, but I kept my voice steady. None of this is your fault. Baby, you revealed the rot, not caused it. I pulled out my phone. That's it. We're adding more names to the order and filing for a full HOA board investigation. That evening, I called an emergency neighborhood meeting, something residents could request with enough signatures. I had them. I'd spent years documenting every selective fine, every time Barb waived rules for her friends, every dollar of community money funneled into her events. I printed everything. The meeting was in the community center, ironic, since it was funded partly by my old donations. 50 residents showed up. Barb sat at the head table, clipboard trembling, smile glued on like cheap wallpaper. I stood at the podium with my folder. For 15 years, I quietly covered shortfalls so dues wouldn't rise. I arranged the vendor contract that kept community events alive. In return, I asked for nothing except basic decency. Last Saturday, that decency died when our president humiliated a 14-year-old girl at her own birthday party in front of her entire class. Gasps. Phones came out. I kept going. Since then, she's issued 14 frivolous fines on my property alone. Grass 0.1 inches too tall. Lights too blue. A single wind chime that never existed. She harassed my daughter at school. She sent proxies to guilt trip a child. This isn't leadership. This is extortion with a smile. I passed out copies of every receipt, every email, every violation log. The room went dead silent. Barb tried the victim act. Rachel is overreacting because of one harmless joke. I was only trying to help the girl. A mom in the back stood up. Harmless? My daughter came home crying about how you body shamed her friend. That's not community. That's bullying. Another resident. You fine me $200 for a political sign in my window, but let your own Christmas lights stay up until March. The room turned. Vanessa tried to defend her, but the murmurs grew louder. Someone shouted, "Motion to remove the president." Seconded instantly. Votes flew. 38-12. Barb was out, effective immediately. Her clipboard clattered to the floor like a gavel of defeat. She stood, face purple. You'll regret this. The neighborhood will fall apart without me. A dad laughed bitterly. It already did, thanks to you. Security, actual paid security we finally hired with the money I used to donate, escorted her and Vanessa out while residents clapped. Dark humor hit me. The woman who'd spent 15 years measuring grass with a ruler was finally measured herself and found wanting. The retaliation attempts were pathetic after that. Barb tried one last grocery store ambush, waiting by the produce like a discount villain. I called the police on speaker. She spent a night in county lockup for violating the order and received a judge's stern warning. After that, she vanished from public view. The HOA board, now led by reasonable people, reviewed every past fine. Residents who'd been selectively targeted got refunds. Dues actually dropped because we canceled Barb's overpriced event contracts. 3 months later, I received a certified letter from Barb's bankruptcy attorney. Her house was in foreclosure. The gift basket business had collapsed without my protection. George had taken a part-time job. Vanessa and her son had moved in with them, all crammed into a 2-bedroom rental. The grapevine painted a picture of total collapse. I felt nothing. No guilt, no triumph, just clean emptiness where obligation used to live. Lily was thriving. Honor roll. Debate team. Jackson finally asked her to the spring dance. She showed me a purple dress this time. No comments about fit. No hidden worry. We bought it smiling. The restraining order stayed in effect until it expired. Barb never tested it again. She started telling people I was dead to the neighborhood. The irony tasted like victory. One evening, Lily and I were making dinner when she asked, "Do you think they've learned anything?" I chopped vegetables, thinking, no, people like Barb never learn. They just find new victims to measure. She nodded. I'm not too sensitive, Mom. I just have boundaries. That's healthy, I said. And cutting toxic neighbors out. Even if they call themselves community, that's the strongest boundary there is. The doorbell rang. Lily answered and came back with a small package. No return address. But I recognized Vanessa's handwriting. Inside, an old photo of the neighborhood block party from years ago. Everyone smiling before the rules choked the joy out. A note. Remember when we were happy? I looked at it for a long moment, 2 little girls who had no idea what was coming. Then I dropped in the trash. Who was it from? Lily asked. Nobody important. 6 months after the party, I got promoted to vice president. The salary bump more than covered what I used to funnel into the HOA Lily, and I took a weekend trip to New York, just us. Broadway. Fancy restaurants. Shopping without guilt. While we were there, she got a text from Vanessa's son. He'd re-enrolled in community college, working full-time. Genuinely apologized for laughing that night. Lily showed me. Should I reply? Your choice, I said. But remember, apologies don't erase actions. She typed back simply, good luck with school. Nothing more. Boundaries. A year later, the neighborhood was unrecognizable. New board. Reasonable rules. Grass could be 2 to 4 inches, gasp. People actually talked at block parties instead of measuring each other. Lily turned 15 with a small movie night celebration. No clipboard. No cruel jabs. No tears. She laughed freely, no longer checking over her shoulder for the next harmless comment. The last time I saw Barb was by accident at a mall 2 towns over. She was folding clothes in the sale section of a department store. Our eyes met across racks of pastel cardigans, the uniform of her old power. For a second, I thought she might approach. Then she turned away, pretending she hadn't seen me. Lily slipped her hand into mine. You okay? Mom. Perfect, I said, meaning it. We walked out together into a future that belonged only to us. No toxic covenants, no emotional debt, no inherited cruelty. Just a mom and daughter who'd burned down the rules that once ruled them and built something better from the ashes. The money I used to send now goes into Lily's college fund and our retirement. The energy I spent managing Barb's crises goes into my career and my daughter. The tolerance I once gave goes to people who actually deserve it. Sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't revenge at all. It's what you become when the bully finally loses the clipboard. And that, neighbors, is how one backyard birthday party brought down an entire HOA empire. Barb Kensington went from measuring everyone else's grass to measuring her own failures in a 2-bedroom rental. The neighborhood that once feared her clipboard now laughs about the time the queen of the cul-de-sac got dethroned by a mom who finally stopped paying the protection racket. If this story made you cheer, made you angry, made you think twice about that next HOA fine in your mailbox, drop a comment. Tell me, have you ever dealt with a clipboard, Karen? Where are you watching from? Maybe your own backyard that you're finally allowed to decorate the way you want. If it resonated, hit subscribe. Share your own HOA horror stories. This community, the real one, not the fake one with rules, exists to lift each other up, not measure each other down. Because at the end of the day, the best property value you can protect is your peace of mind and your kid's smile. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next neighborhood nightmare or victory. Stay strong out there. And whatever you do, don't let them measure your worth with their stupid ruler.